When you're using a drag queen to recruit for the Navy, that's not the people we want. What we need is alpha males and alpha females who are going to rip out their own guts, eat them, and ask for seconds. Those are young men and women that are going to win wars.
Welcome to the BJ Show. Let's rock and roll. Rock and roll. Come on, everybody. Let's lose control. Brad and John, they're the ones to follow. Yeah, ready for the ride. It's the BJ Show. BJ Show.
You know, occasionally I do things that people appreciate, and I did something that John actually appreciates, your new microphone processing, right, John?
I love it, Brad. You did a fantastic job with it, and explain why the quality is a little bit better.
Well, because of the fact that John's audio is unprocessed, which means there's no compressing or compressor or limiter on it, and my microphone has a compressor limiter. So even though if you looked at it on the meters, it looks like the meters between you and I are the same level, but it's perceived loudness, and that's what compression and limiting and audio processing does. So now you and I are both limited, but some people will say, well, we've known that all along, right?
Yeah, I think our counselors back at the Hazelwood School District would have told us that.
They said to me, you know, you grew up in North County. You're never going to amount to anything. If you would have lived in West County, you would have become a lawyer, a doctor, but you grew up in North County, so best you can do is maybe a trash man, right? Isn't that how it went for you and I up in North County, right?
Hey, not all of us were offered a free ride engineering degree at WashU and turned it down to go into radio, Brad.
I should have never told you that. That is John Combest, C-O-M-B-E-S-T. I spell his name because you need to type that in the computer, John, COMBEST.com. He's the guy that every single day for 23 years now never missed one single day. He's never been sick. He's never called in to the John Combest, the work line, and go, I can't do the update today. He's done it every single day for 23 years. What it is it's like a drudge kind of report of the entire state of Missouri. He combs all the sites and puts together the links of all the important things that you should know about, 20, 30, 40, sometimes even 50 different things on there. But we distill it down to 3 things. We bring in this guy. Hold on a minute. I did a mistake again. Okay.
Now on with the countdown.
And he does this.
In third place.
And John gives us the third most important story.
Ma Bell giveth, and Ma Bell taketh away. I think that's in telecommunications or economic scripture somewhere, Brad. Ma Bell giveth, and Ma Bell taketh away. Just a week after AT&T announced that they were moving their Earth City jobs from the Earth City location to downtown St. Louis, another announcement from AT&T yesterday, Brad. They're moving, quote, several hundred jobs out of downtown St. Louis. This story is brought to us by Hannah Wyman, the Post-Dispatch. Now, Brad, I have a theory about how all this came to be, which we can get to in a minute. But after AT&T made their corporate announcement, the Post-Dispatch reached out to Greater St. Louis Inc., and we've talked about them. They're one of those quasi-governmental organizations, right?
Correct.
They do a little bit of they're a little bit government, a little bit private sector, a little bit nonprofit. Tony Wyche, who's the Greater St. Louis Incorporated spokesman, said the Economic Development Agency has been in communication with AT&T. Here's Tony's quote. While we never want to see any jobs leave the metro, St. Louis is part of a robust, globally connected economy that has seen us gain tens of thousands of jobs this year. Our economy is resilient, diversified, and we are focused on growth. How about that, Brad? You buy into that?
John, you being a former comms guy, rate that on a scale of 1 to 10.
11. Really good. Now, first of all, and we've talked about Tony Wyche before. He's an outstanding spokesman. In fact, he's uniquely tied to someone in story number 1. But Tony was a longtime spokesman for Democrats in the state of Missouri. He does a lot of great work for nonprofits. He's worked for the Missouri Foundation for Health and others. It's the definition, Brad, of his job now is whatever you want to say, doing PR for the Titanic. You could use a lipstick on a pig metaphor. I'm guessing that Tashara Jones and company are leaning on Greater St. Louis really heavy going into next year, going into Tishar's reelection campaign. And I'm sure Greater St. Louis will, if they're not already, they're probably trying to manufacture some sort of stats, maybe get some sort of academic economist to play ball, fudge the numbers a little bit, make up some stories about how great the St. Louis economy is. I'm sure they're under a lot of pressure. There's a lot of money at stake for them to get Tishara reelected. And this is a great quote from Tony, though. I mean, you can't knock the effort and the skill there.
Okay, but if you said to Tony, hey, Tony, give us the stats, where are you getting those numbers from? What do you think he'd say?
I would probably say the Vervis Jones Institute of Math.
Because have you heard any tens of thousands of jobs moving into the St. Louis area?
Yeah, well, I mean, it depends. If you count, maybe you bring in, if you count the economic activity of bringing in carjackers from Sauget or maybe St. Clair County, sure. I don't know if it's tens of thousands, Brad, because most of them probably go back and eat a Rally's burger at 3 a.m. after the carjacking. I don't know. Now, here's my theory on this, Brad. Here's what happened. You say, boy, it seems strange that AT&T would have these announcements back to back. AT&T is a huge company, and they have a lot of communications people. They have a lot of strategy people, Brad. I presume they knew that these jobs were going to be going quite a while ago, and they held that news until they were able to pair the Earth City moving downtown news. So you do a 1-2 punch. If you can't do them both together, you say, hey, guess what? We're moving a bunch of jobs into St. Louis. And then everybody says, whoop, the reversal has begun. St. Louis is back. And then the next week you're like, yeah, by the way, we're moving a bunch of jobs out. But hey, remember what we said last week? We're moving our city jobs downtown. See? So I think it's just, the folks who do strategy and the folks who work on the communications piece at AT&T are pros. So they had this, Brad, on a timeline months ago of how this would roll out.
Okay, but essentially the jobs they're leaving are not necessarily leaving downtown. They're leaving the area. They're going out of state, correct?
Correct. Yeah, AT&T says that they're moving them to strategic hubs and other parts of the company. Now, what I thought was unique about this AT&T announcement is that AT&T, both for the Earth City jobs and for this latest round of moving jobs out, is really tight-lipped about numbers. They're not giving any numbers, which tells me it's not 100% baked. Like there's probably still some people that they haven't decided whether to eliminate or they haven't offered them a job in a new hub yet. So AT&T has been being pretty tight about the exact scope of these jobs.
Interesting. Now, of course, within just recent history, and I'm talking like weeks and actually a few months, we had the state of Missouri, which is abandoning the Wainwright building, and they're moving out to Chesterfield, correct?
That's correct.
And then we had Fleischman Hillard, who essentially said they're leaving downtown after, 55 years or something like that?
Yeah, a long time
being downtown, and they're moving to Clayton because what was the reason they say they wanted to be closer to their customers? And I thought to myself, what does that tell you right there when they said they're leaving downtown, they want to be closer to their customers? So none of their customers are in downtown St. Louis? I guess they're not, right?
Yeah, I guess they're probably moving out. But you think on the other hand, Brad, you have a lot of these really strong companies in North City that are getting these development grants. So we're one re-election away from the Renaissance, Brad. I mean, I know you're cynical about that, but think of all the economic activity that's going to be generated by these pandemic grant handouts.
Yeah, John is being very tongue-in-cheek there because of the fact that didn't we have like grants for Waldo's Knuckle Room or something like that?
And some of them were, located in Shrewsbury,
right,
which is not St. Louis City for sure. But it's who you know and who you spend time with, Brad.
And some of them were located in buildings that didn't exist. They were empty lots. Wasn't that the part of the deal,
That's
too?
exactly right. Yeah. And shout out to the Post-Dispatch for some great reporting on that.
Right. Okay, moving on to...
Up a notch to number two.
Number two.
Yesterday, we talked about Wesley Bell's election this fall because we talked about that so much in the summer and have hardly talked about it this fall. Well, Brad, there's another race that we haven't talked about much this fall that we talked about a lot this summer, and that is Bob Onder's election to Congress. So Bob Onder, much like Wesley Bell, has a proverbial cakewalk next week and will be sent to Congress. Jason Rosenbaum sat down with Bob Onder to go through what Onder's priorities are. In a wide-ranging interview, Jason and Bob touched on the Ukraine, touched on the difference between Ukraine funding and Israel funding. Also, to no one's surprise, Bob Onder says he's going to focus on immigration as one of the top issues. Now, another unique thing is that Onder says that he was given, Jason asked what kind of committees you'd like to be on. Onder says he'd like to serve on Ways and Means, Education and Workforce, or the Judiciary committees. Now, Brad, everybody wants to be on Ways and Means because it has to do with how you spend money. But I think it's fascinating when you look at Bob Onder and you look at a guy that was a founding member of what was once called the Senate Republican, the Conservative Caucus that eventually became the Freedom Caucus. And you look at Bob Onder and you say, will he go to Congress and be kind of, for lack of a better term, maybe a Matt Gaetz kind of guy and a proverbial bomb thrower? Or will he go to Congress and work for conservative legislation and maybe, I don't know, be a little bit more collaborative, for lack of a better term? I don't want to use the word compromise because I don't think Bob Onder is a compromiser. But I think Bob Onder could be a collaborative type of guy. But we'll see, Brad. We'll see in his first term.
My concern is all I want to know is when is he moving?
Yeah, well, it probably has been. It probably has been a couple of years. I think he and John Lamping got a little 1-bedroom apartment. I think they're probably sharing. They're both really hurting for money.
No, but remember the story. He lived in the district, but then he moved out of the district. He lives in Augusta, which is Ann Wagner's district. So now he has to move back, correct?
I guess he would be moving.
Right, because he can't be in CD2, and I mean, this is the crazy thing. You can run in a district that you don't live, but if you get elected, you have to move into that district. Otherwise, you get thrown out. Correct? And we saw that set forth by our former Attorney General, who was, when it came into the Missouri Constitution that Josh Hawley, it said, the Attorney General for the state of Missouri has to live in Jefferson City. Josh says, oh my God, call the moving trucks. Isn't that what happened, John?
Yeah, well, he did need a moving truck, but he already had a ladder. So he didn't need everything from Home Depot. He just needed their moving services.
Right.
Boy, I'll tell you what, a guy poses in skinny jeans and pirate boots one day, and you just never let it go, bro. You just never let it go.
The funny part is I didn't say that. Shelley Barr said that.
Wow, we're throwing the great and venerated Shelley Barr under the bus. Incredible, Brad.
No,
incredible.
No, hold on a minute. Okay, you throw down the gauntlet there. Okay, hold on a minute. We're going to break from the normal procedure here because I'm going to make a phone call. Okay, hold. Let's see if this is going to work. We'll find out real quick. Okay. One ringy dingy. I'm going to use the phone twice this morning because we have a guest who's going to be on the phone in Block
Good
B.
morning. This is Shelley.
Shelley Barr. This is Brad Hildebrand. You're on the air right now, so don't say anything of your normal F or S vocabulary, okay? Okay.
I knew you were going to say that. What's up?
Well, you're on the air right now. We're discussing the fact that when you and I met Josh Hawley at that campaign event, that would have been, 2018, I guess it was?
It's been a minute.
You were the one that gave a review of his wardrobe, correct? It wasn't me, it was you, right?
Yes, Brad.
And what kind of
skinny jeans and pirate shoes.
Okay, that's all I needed. Thanks, Shelley. Bye. Talk to you later.
Bye. Bye, John.
Bye, Shelley.
John, I would never say anything like skinny jeans and pirate shoes. I would never say that. It was Shelley. Okay, so I'm not throwing her in the bus. She freely admits it. Okay, on to number one.
The number one.
On to us by the Columbia Missourian. There's a young man there named Ezra Bitterman. The headline is, "Show me no presidential campaign. Missouri Democrats want to be back on the map." And Mr. Bitterman goes through the fact that Missouri used to at one time be a bellwether. I think we all know that. Presidential candidates would come through here. The Bill Clintons of the world, the original George Bush, George W. Bush, Barack Obama would come to Missouri. And now, because Missouri has lost its bellwether status, The Missouri Democrats are being ignored by national folks. But there is a silver lining. Missouri Democrats chose Russ Carnahan, a fresh face, Brad, a brand new, brilliant, fresh face to lead the Missouri Democratic Party. And Russ Carnahan says, hey, the Missouri Democrats have, quote, kind of fallen through the cracks the last few years. But Russ Carnahan is going to turn it around, Brad. And he says that he's going to do a lot of candidate training. He's going to follow the model of Democrats in Minnesota who've really focused on state legislative races to turn the state of Minnesota around and make it a solid blue Democrat state. So if you're a Democrat, go to johncombest.com today, read the very top headline, which is about how Russ Carnahan is going to resuscitate the Missouri Democratic Party.
You know what the problem with Missouri politics is?
What's that, Brad?
Names like Ashcroft and Carnahan. Can we get some new blood in here? You know what I'm saying? Can we get some people?
I know. You're saying that the Republican and Democrat politicians need to have more kids, more Nepo babies, and then have their kids take over, right?
Yeah, we don't have Josh Hawley's kid in here, or I think
not yet, Brad. Be careful what you wish for.
Right. Okay, we have a guest coming up here, so we're going to duck out a little early the first segment. And guest again, John.
It's Greg Keller.
Keller. Okay,
who is a spokesman for the Amendment 2 sports betting proposition.
This should be interesting. Okay, we're going to take a break. We'll be back.
Thanks for checking out the Brad and John Show podcast. This segment of the show is brought to you by John Combest's book, Stalking, Harassment, Internet Trolling, A Guide to Recovering and Rebuilding After Online Attacks. It's a great reference if you've ever been the unfortunate target of a social media attack. It's available on Amazon. Just search John Combest. That's C-O-M-B-E-S-T, John Combest, and the book will show up in your search results. Now it's time for another segment of the Brad and John Show. Can you handle it?